give the floor to Her Excellency Anita Anand, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Canada.
President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, let me, Madam President, congratulate you on your election as President. Since the end of the Second World War, multilateral institutions have helped to make our world safer and more prosperous. More than 1 billion people have been lifted out of extreme poverty. Famine and disease have declined. We see shared effort leading to shared prosperity. Pourtant, aujourd'hui, ce système multilatéral est menacé, certains pays se tournant vers le protectionnisme et l'unilatéralisme. Partout dans le monde, le paysage géopolitique est instable, les puissances se déplaçant d'une manière qui met en péril notre sécurité et notre prospérité. Nous sommes confrontés à des défis qu'aucun pays ne peut relever seul. Permettez-moi de commencer par le Canada lui-même, car la force qui nous apportons à l'étranger commence par notre résilience chez nous. Canada is a proudly bilingual, resilient, dynamic democracy spanning 3 oceans, blessed with natural resources, and above all, defined by the ingenuity of our people. Our scientists are leaders in artificial intelligence and clean technology. Our workers are partnering in the global energy transition. Our entrepreneurs are advancing critical minerals, agriculture, and digital innovation. Canada is home to Indigenous peoples and to immigrants from every corner of the globe. Let me say a few words about Indigenous peoples on the eve of Canada's National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The voices of Indigenous peoples enrich our democracy at home and diplomacy abroad. Leur leadership façonne la voie suivie par le Canada et renforce notre place dans le monde. Le Canada défend depuis longtemps la coopération, la diplomatie et le droit international. Qu'il s'agisse de promouvoir les opérations de maintien de la paix de l'ONU pendant la crise de Suez ou de mener le traité d'Ottawa interdisant les mines antipersonnelles, le Canada a toujours été un leader innovant sur les questions mondiales. Cet esprit continue de nous guider. Canada does not shrink from global challenge. Canada does not retreat from duty. Canada does not walk away from building and strengthening peace. Even as the world changes, Canada remains a stable and reliable partner, both in business and collective security. At its core, our foreign policy rests on 3 pillars. First, defense and security, keeping Canadians safe, strengthening our sovereignty, being good allies and partners in NATO and NORAD. Second, economic resilience, diversifying trade, strengthening supply chains, being an attractive destination for capital, and an entrusted trading partner while advancing rules-based trade. And third, core values, promoting democracy and pluralism, balancing and maintaining human rights, fostering gender equality, protecting our environment, and working with Indigenous partners on sustainable development and prosperity while safeguarding our environment. But we face a changed reality. Rising unilateralism and protectionism weaken multilateral institutions and the rule of law, the very bedrock of the post-war order. À eux seuls, en 2024, 300 millions de personnes ont eu besoin d'aide humanitaire. 120 millions ont été déplacés. Plus de 40 millions étaient des réfugiés. Les conflits coûtent 14 000 milliards de dollars par an à l'économie mondiale. Chaque chiffre ne représente pas seulement une statistique, mais un enfant, une famille, une communauté. Chacun d'entre eux témoigne de la raison pour laquelle nous devons collectivement respecter la Charte des Nations Unies, les conventions de Genève, la Convention relative au statut des réfugiés et les droits de la personne. In the face of these stark realities, retreat is not an option. Canada will not turn inward. Canada will work to reform and strengthen multilateral institutions such as the United Nations so that they are more resilient and more effective in meeting the challenges of today and tomorrow. Canada is an Arctic nation. In the Arctic, a critical part of Canada and the world, climate change and new geopolitical pressures create both risks and responsibilities. Canada will safeguard its sovereignty, modernize NORAD with the United States, bolster NATO with fellow members, and work with Indigenous peoples to ensure that the Arctic remains a region of peace, cooperation, and sustainable development. The challenges to security are not confined to our own borders. Russia's 2022 illegal full-scale invasion of Ukraine stands as a grave breach of the UN Charter. Russia's aggression, attacks on civilians, and abduction of children are flagrant violations of international law. Putin believed Ukraine would fall in 3 days. 3.5 years later, Ukraine still stands, its sovereignty intact, its people unbowed, its courage unbroken. Canada's position is clear. Putin cannot be permitted to redraw boundaries at his will. Might does not make right. Ukraine is not backing down, nor will its friends, including Canada. En soutenant l'Ukraine, nous ne défendons pas seulement une nation, nous défendons les principes fondamentaux de souveraineté, de dignité et de paix qui nous unissent tous. Le Canada s'est déjà engagé à verser 22 milliards de dollars en aide multiforme à l'Ukraine et ils peuvent compter sur notre soutien à long terme. Ici, à l'ONU, la semaine dernière, le Premier ministre Carney et le président Zelensky ont réaffirmé notre engagement commun, partagé par bon nombre d'entre vous, à ramener les enfants ukrainiens chez eux. In the Middle East, the October 7th terrorist attack by Hamas on Israeli civilians was absolutely horrific. Hamas is a terrorist organization and an impediment to peace. Canada calls on Hamas to lay down its weapons and to release all remaining hostages immediately. The scope of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is catastrophic and requires urgent action. Canada has committed over $340 million in humanitarian aid, and our Canadian armed forces have participated in airdrops. We call on Israel to help protect the civilian population in Gaza, to open land corridors for unimpeded access of humanitarian aid at scale, and to ensure that healthcare facilities are fully protected. The two-state solution is eroding, as is evident in Israel's illegal expansion of West Bank settlements. Canada's recognition of Palestine last week reflects long-standing Canadian policy based on the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination and our commitment to a two-state solution, a future where Israelis and Palestinians live side by side in peace and security. We support partners in the region who continue their efforts to reach a ceasefire as soon as possible and to contribute to the political processes that must follow. Canada will participate in these processes in every way that we can. We are committed to efforts to strengthen the capacity of the Palestinian Authority, working collaboratively with partners in the region. En Haïti, la violence détruit des vies et de la stabilité. Le Canada appuie les efforts déployés au Conseil de sécurité des Nations Unies pour établir une nouvelle mission visant à éliminer la violence et des gangs, à rétablir la gouvernance et à ouvrir la voie à une démocratie stable et à une plus grande sécurité régionale. Ces luttes ne sont pas lointaines. Dans le monde interconnecté d'aujourd'hui, les conflits qui éclatent n'importe où dans le monde nous touchent tous. In today's uncertain global economy, Canada's diplomacy is also focused on delivering growth and economic resilience for our people. To grow our economy and create opportunities for our businesses, Canada is deepening partnerships in Europe, the Indo-Pacific, the Americas, and Africa. Recent progress includes a strategic defense partnership with the European Union, the Canada-Indonesia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, signed just last week, expanded agreements with Mexico, and continued leadership through key trade agreements such as the CPTPP and CETA. These are not just trade agreements. These are bridges of resilience, engines of prosperity, and commitments to the rules-based system that benefits us all. Through multilateralism, we can build an inclusive and sustainable global economy. And when multilateral institutions are under threat, Canada will not turn inward. We will lock arms with our partners to strengthen institutions, building their legitimacy and their efficacy to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow. We are determined to forge new economic partnerships and leverage our competitive advantages in areas of economic strength. Canada will ensure that we utilize our diplomatic efforts abroad to the benefit of domestic interests as well. Alors que nous cherchons tous à renforcer la résilience, la sécurité et la croissance économique de nos peuples, nous ne pouvons pas renoncer aux institutions et aux processus multilatéraux. Le multilatéralisme reste notre meilleur espoir pour résoudre les défis mondiaux. Plutôt que de renoncer aux normes internationales, nous devons renforcer le multilatéralisme en réformant les institutions internationales. Ce n'est qu'ainsi que les institutions internationales pourront relever les défis auxquels nous sommes tous confrontés, tout en livrant des résultats pour nos nations et nos peuples. We all have an opportunity to act with pragmatism and flexibility in our efforts to deal with collective challenges. That is good advice for all of us in our chamber here today. We need to bring together the representatives of those countries and entities that are both relevant to and affected by the crises at hand. As we have seen with the Coalition of the Willing for Ukraine, these efforts in support of the UN Charter need to become the new norm so that we can move forward on urgent challenges at scale and at speed. A generation of Canadians, including Canada's fierce and inspiring ambassador to the United Nations, Bob Rae, who has provided a lifetime of dedicated service to our country, helped to build these multilateral institutions. And I pay tribute to Bob for his lifetime of dedicated service to our country. Our goal will always be to prevent and to resolve international conflicts while modernizing global institutions so that they can meet the challenges of the future. To close, Canada is committed to leaving future generations not only a safer, more prosperous, more inclusive, and more peaceful world, but also a more sustainable one. Canada will be defined not by the strength of our values, but by the value of our strength. We know that no country can meet today's challenges alone. As former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan once said, in an era of global challenges, the world needs multilateralism now more than ever. No nation can solve its problems alone. This is the spirit of Canada, and Canadians are rising to the challenge. We will work toward a world where prosperity is shared, security is collective, and peace is lasting. This is Canada's pledge in this era of geopolitical challenge and change. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Miigwech.
I thank the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Canada.